Governor Greg Abbott has called Texas lawmakers back to Austin for a special legislative session set to start on July 18th, less than 2 months after the regular session ended. Abbott is supposed to have complete control over whether to call a special session, but this time around, he had to call one because Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick held a must-pass bill, a reauthorization of the Texas Medical Board, and a bunch of other health-related agencies hostage. He did that to force Abbott to call a special session so that he could try to pass a bunch of other really shitty bills that he failed to pass during the regular session. Now, Abbott still had complete control over what to put on the agenda for the special session, and he could have just put that one must-pass bill, but instead, he put 19 other items on the agenda for the special session. Abbott's agenda includes a lot of really awful things. Measures that target transgender people for discrimination, restrict women's access to reproductive health care, undermine quality public education, strip public employees of union rights, and totally override local control. And I know that sounds like a lot of really batshit stuff to include on an agenda for a 30-day special session, and it is. Special session calls usually aren't this expansive or crazy, but the Republican Party in Texas has become a race to the bottom. Let's take a closer look at some of Abbott's priority agenda items. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've heard of Dan Patrick's so-called bathroom bill. This is a bill that faced overwhelming opposition during the regular session, from civil rights advocates, from business leaders, and from the transgender community and allies. People turned out en masse to the Capitol to oppose this bill, and it worked. All of the versions of this awful bill failed to pass during the regular session, but that didn't stop Dan Patrick from forcing Abbott to call a special session just so he could have another shot at passing this awful bill. And that's despite polling that shows that a majority of Texans don't want their state lawmakers wasting time or money legislating where people pee. At least 2 versions of the bathroom bill have been filed so far this session. One bans transgender kids from using the bathroom that matches their gender identity at school. Another bans all transgender people from using the bathroom that matches their gender identity in public spaces and public accommodations throughout the state. Basically meaning they can't pee anywhere in public in Texas. The bathroom bill in any of its forms is totally unacceptable. It targets an already very vulnerable population in Texas for further discrimination. 3 of the 20 items on Abbott and Patrick's agenda involve restricting a woman's access to reproductive health care in Texas, including abortion. Apparently, passing one of the worst anti-abortion bills in the country during the regular session wasn't cruel enough for these people. The bill that they passed during the regular session forces fetal burial and effectively bans abortion after 13 weeks by outlawing the most commonly used procedure. Texas is experiencing a maternal mortality crisis. We have the highest maternal mortality rate in the developed world, and yet Governor Abbott came back for a special session to pass 3 anti-abortion measures that failed during the regular session. The first of these measures would totally defund Planned Parenthood. It would bar local governments from partnering with Planned Parenthood to provide reproductive health care services to low-income communities. The second would effectively ban insurance coverage of abortion. The third would increase reporting requirements on abortion providers, even though abortion is one of the safest medical procedures out there. These 3 measures were among the nearly 40 anti-abortion bills filed by lawmakers during the regular legislative session. Instead of restricting women's access to health care and regulating where people pee, Texas lawmakers should be focused on real problems facing Texas, like fixing our broken school finance system. Yet Abbott put a private school voucher program on his special session agenda. This program would divert much needed funding for special needs kids in public schools. This is a wildly unpopular measure. During the regular session, Dan Patrick and Senate Republicans killed a bipartisan school finance fix bill by sneaking this amendment onto it in the middle of the night. And Governor Abbott didn't stop there. He took another swipe at teachers and other public employees by including a ban on union payroll deductions as an agenda item. More than half of the 20 items on Abbott's agenda involve seizing control away from local governments in Texas. These measures include regulating cities' property taxes, budget caps, land use, boundary lines, and a whole lot more. It should come as no surprise to y'all that Republicans' assault on local control comes at a time when cities across this state are becoming more and more progressive. To get involved and stay up to date about everything special session related, visit our website at progresstexas.org. We're also joining a group of organizations from across the state for a project we're calling One Texas Resistance. We're going to be organizing 30 days of actions at the Capitol and across the state to resist Abbott's extreme special session agenda. To figure out more about this project and how you can get involved, visit onetexasresistance.com. Now let's take a look at some of the stuff on Abbott's agenda.